Imagine I show you a picture of a house with the lights on and a car in the driveway, and I say, John must be at home. Now imagine a completely different scenario. A parent looks at their teenager and says, you must be at home by 10 o'clock. We're using the exact same word in both sentences, must. But if you pause and really look at what the word is doing, those two sentences are performing completely different cognitive tasks. In the first sentence, must means I am 99% sure this is a true fact. In the second sentence, must means I am commanding you to do this, and you have no choice. This is the doorway into one of the most brilliant and deeply philosophical areas of linguistics, modality. I've made videos on modality before, including the only video you'll ever need to understand the subjunctive. But today, we're going to discuss a slightly different aspect of modality. If you're new to the channel, I'm Dr. Taylor Jones. I've got a PhD in linguistics from the University of Pennsylvania. And on the channel, I discuss everything related to language, linguistics, language learning, and culture. If you're into those topics, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. Today, you must watch this video. This is Language Jones. So I'm planning a trip to Bologna in the fall. Let me know in the comments if you think you know why. Anyway, I've been studying Italian for a while now, and I've got my own system dialed in at this point. I know what works for me, and actually what'll work for you. But one thing I kept running into, for me, was the gap between textbook Italian and how people actually talk. Like, I could conjugate a verb, but I'd watch an Italian video and feel a little lost. That's where LingoPie filled in a real gap for me. It's a language learning app built around real TV shows and movies with interactive subtitles, so I can tap any word mid-scene, see what it means, and it goes straight into a review queue, and I can just keep it moving. They've got Italian and all of these other languages. What I actually love it for is the input. When I want to engage with natural, authentic Italian, the way people actually speak, this is what I put on. I maybe do a little overkill in terms of analysis. I've got a whole video on it. If you want to copy my style, you can check that out here, link in description. But it's also just what I reach for when I don't want to feel like I'm studying. End of a long day, I'm not really going to sit down with my notes and my spaced repetition software. But I'll throw on an Italian show. I'm still making progress. It still counts. It just doesn't cost any willpower. And I can do it in bed, under the covers, on my phone with my AirPods in. If you're learning a language and you're past the basics, or honestly, even if you're just starting, LingoPie is a genuinely useful tool. Free trial plus a discount at the link below for 55% off the annual plan with my code. Modality is the grammatical system we use to talk about things that aren't just simple, straightforward facts. It's how we discuss possibilities, permissions, obligations, and probabilities. It's how we talk about parallel worlds, about alternative universes. Linguists divide this system into two huge sets, and once you see them, you'll realize that they control almost every negotiation, argument, and prediction you make. They're called Epistemic Modality and Deontic Modality. If that's all Greek to you, don't worry, it was Greek to me too. Not just because the words are actually literally from Greek. Let's start with the first one, epistemic modality. The word epistemic comes from the Greek word for knowledge. Epistemic modality is all about your degree of certainty based on the evidence that you have. It's an internal calculation of the truth. When you say words like might, may, must, or could in an epistemic way, you're telling the listener how much you're willing to bet that your claim is accurate. If you say, it might rain later, I'm signaling low epistemic certainty. If I see dark, swirling storm clouds and I say, it must be going to rain later, I'm signaling high epistemic certainty. I'm not forcing the clouds to rain, I'm just stating that based on my knowledge of physics, rain is the most logical conclusion. Insert Spock image here.
It is not logical.
But now let's pivot to the second pillar, deontic modality. Deontic comes from the Greek word for obligation or duty. Deontic modality has absolutely nothing to do with what is true or false. Instead, it's all about rules, permission, morality, and freedom of action. It's about how the world ought to be or what people are required to do. When a teacher says, you may leave the room, they aren't making a scientific prediction about whether your body is capable of walking through the door or likely to do so. They're giving you deontic permission. When a law says drivers must stop at a red light, it's a deontic obligation. It's an exercise of authority, social control, or moral duty. It's not the same as a Martian who landed on Earth, seeing a traffic crossing for the first time, and observed, after a few light cycles, drivers must stop at a red light, I guess. Now, here's the mind-bending part that keeps linguists up at night. at least some linguists. Why do so many languages use the exact same word for both of these concepts? Yes, linguists are big dorks, but you're watching this channel, so you must be one too. Leave me a comment with whether that's epistemic or deontic and how you arrived at that conclusion. Was it prosodic stress? Anyway, think about it. In English, we use must, may, can, and should for both knowledge and rules. And English isn't alone. Languages all across Europe and the world do this exact same double duty trick. I said duty. Linguists suggest this happens because our brains naturally map the concept of physical and social force onto the concept of mental evidence. Think about the word force. In the deontic real world, a dictator can force you to do something. You have no choice. In the epistemic mental world, a mountain of undeniable evidence can force you to believe a conclusion. You have no choice but to accept it as true. So the grammar is doing this beautiful mirroring of how our minds treat external constraints and internal logic as two sides of the same coin. But here's the fun twist. Not every language lumps them together into the same words. Some languages have completely separate vocabulary or distinct grammatical markers for epistemic and deontic modalities. If you use the word for obligation to mean probability, you will sound completely nonsensical. And even within English, our modal verbs are constantly shifting and evolving. Think about the word should. If I say, the package should arrive tomorrow, that's epistemic. I'm predicting based on shipping data. But if I say, you should call your mother, that's deontic. I'm giving you a moral shove. The exact same syllable shifts seamlessly from a logistic forecast to an ethical critique. Modality kind of reminds us that human language isn't just a device for reporting a cold list of historical events. It's a tool for exploring what could be, what has to be, and what we want to be. It gives us the power to overlay our knowledge and our values onto the physical world with a single verb. So next time you catch yourself saying must, should, or might, or finna, or gon, ask, am I evaluating a truth or am I laying down a rule? If you like this and you want to know more about linguistics, you can sign up for updates and for the waitlist for my upcoming Intro to Linguistics. It's self-paced, online, and fun at www.languagejones.com/blueprint. Let me know in the comments below which modal verb trips you up the most when learning a second language, because navigating another culture's rules of permission and probability is a whole linguistic adventure on its own. You should hit that like button, subscribe for more conceptual deep dives into the mechanics of thought, and I'll see you in the next one. If you like what I'm doing with the channel, you can always support it on YouTube with super thanks or over on Patreon at patreon.com/languagejones. Please leave a comment, they're great for the algorithm, and subscribe if you haven't already. For those of you who stuck around this long, I'm going to give you the extra super secret mental trick that I use to remember this, which is from Star Trek, of course. Spock is epistemic modality. Kirk is deontic modality. Leave me a comment with which one of them is Kiki and which one of them is Booba. And everybody else who didn't watch the video this far will have no idea what you're talking about. Until next time, happy learning.